his own history when he had to go to Oxford, and Strobe Talbot was his roommate, who was classical CIA from Yale, who cleaned up all the junk that Bill Clinton did. And the same thing with Hillary, who has her own sexual problems, has a history of lesbianism, has a history of entitlement, corruption, and ineptness. Once you have that dynamic, the ability of the power of the state through covert actions is very easy to manipulate these people and bring in the necessary say what we want you to do what we want you to do, and if you don't, we'll get rid of you. But the only way they're terminated is the same way Putin understood about the Romanovs, about Tsar Nicholas, and about Stalin. They die or they leave office. They cannot be, they will not resign on their own. Obama is not crazy. He's not sick. He's inept. He's arrogant. He's entitled. He's a sociopath, but there's nothing crazy about him. He's not very bright. The fact that he went to Occidental College, where all of my ex-CIA operatives teach, and the fact he did not go to Columbia, went to Harvard on affirmative action, means that he was there because he's black, and he can articulate all kinds of nonsense. Same thing with Bill Clinton. Never showed up at Oxford, was in Moscow, worked for the agency, reported to guys who were in the agency.
Sure. So let me ask you this in closing, and I want to have you back up on this whole history sometime because it's intriguing, and I know what you're giving us is unfiltered, from your own research, what you see as the truth, which from my research is incredibly accurate. As just somebody on the outside studying this and watching it closely. Who runs the CIA then? I mean, I know it was the Wall Street, the big mega banks that set it up.
Well, it was the Dulles brothers to begin with, who worked with the Germans during World War II. Then it was James Jesus Angleton. It was the WASPs. Eventually it came to the Catholics, in what we call Catholics in Action. In this particular case, over about 20 years, it's been John Brennan, who's been the special assistant to Obama and Bush Jr., who came out of Saudi Arabia, has a very checkered history of effectiveness. Even in the intelligence community, he's known as not being very effective.
So we've got all these different factions. We got the, and now is this weird socialist stuff we're seeing out of Pope Francis, or is this a separate Catholic?
Pope Francis, as I told you and I've told the audience, I knew him when he was the director of the Jesuits. He's a ruthless, cunning, pandering individual who doesn't deserve to be the Pope. And I have great respect for Catholics, but I have no respect for the Pope. He allowed 2 of his Jesuits to be arrested and several of the nuns to be killed. And I was asked to come in by the Argentinian colonels to help out, and I said no. I will not incarcerate 6,000 Catholics in Argentina. So the Pope is also one of those sociopaths who, instead of coming through as grandiose, does the reverse, which is exactly grandiose. He says, oh, no, I'm not worthy, and then uses all of the nonsense about hope and faith,
I tell you, Dr. Puchenik,
what we call reaction formation.
I know when you talk about some of
degrees.
Yes, sir, I hate to interrupt you. I know when you talk about some of these histories, you literally have the FBI show up because people can Google your name.
They'll come in, and so what? They've shown repeatedly over 30 years that they don't work for America.
Sure, I just want the audience to know you're not making any of this stuff up. You really, did know this Pope. You really were involved in what happened in big stuff in Italy. Obviously, I'm not going to go into it because I don't have the Fed show up over national security. It's just so amazing the stuff you've actually done versus all the people, posing and acting like they've done all this stuff. It's amazing. And I do want to have you on about the book you wrote about your mother because it's so interesting historically. So you got to promise to do that, too. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes, I will.
Thank you, sir. That guy is so interesting, folks. It's just amazing. That guy's been like the whole 9 yards, from the ground-level assassin right up to heavy operations and right at the start of Delta Force, advising their psychological warfare operations. It's just incredible. And they just hate it when it comes on. They just cannot stand it. I have been threatened by the Israeli Mossad. I have been threatened by the CIA personally, to my face, okay, about having him on. I have been you name it. I have just been, they cannot stand it. And look, all we're doing is here exposing the stuff that's going on. Look, Jakari Jackson 2 years ago with Don Salazar and Kit Daniels went down the border. We got contacted by the Border Patrol. They're the good guys. And said, yeah, we're completing the smuggling process. We blurred out the ICE agent's face, or just sat in the truck and talked to him so you couldn't even see the body. Scrambled his voice, and he sent us over there June 26th we posted a flashback of this, but this was June of 2014, where it shows dozens of buses a day, hundreds and hundreds of people, whole families, none of them vetted, not checked for diseases, from all over the world, just let in. Caught red-handed, Border Patrol paying to ship illegals deep into the U.S. And I'm not going to play the whole 7-minute report and play about a minute of it and go to Jakari, but they're down there to just point out and talk to the locals. What do you think of they're not tested for disease? That's number one. 22% increase in TB in, quote, migrants. They're coming in. They check you when you come through the border at customs as a citizen, but they're not checking these people. It's against the law. The Supreme Court ruled you can't do it. Last week, Obama says he's going to continue. I mean, I sat there going through customs Saturday, and I didn't start arguing. I just said, they just let everybody in if they're illegal. And the guy just said, yeah. I mean, we've talked to the Border Patrol at the checkpoint. Why do you want to search us 70 miles into the U.S., come back from Big Bend? The border's open. He goes, yeah, you're actually right. Go on in. But there's terrorists coming into the country. See, that's what I mean. This doesn't make sense. So here's a minute of Jakari's report where he's talking to the emergency manager of McAllen. While this is important, is on Friday, UN says more Central Americans headed to the U.S. And the first thing they say in the newscast is illegals are coming in. They're illegal, but they're sent here by the Border Patrol, and they're just bust out. And they make it like it's a wonderful thing. I mean, this is crazy. If I sneak an illegal in, we're talking 5 years in federal prison if I get a light sentence, folks. So we're talking to Jakari Jackson in just a moment, but he's really just there to get all these reports and go with those angles. Hey, what about the diseases coming in? What about citizens having to get checked? What about this not being covered in the media? Why is it finally being covered? I want them to talk to the TV station. I want to talk to the emergency manager again. And this is just 2 years later. It's still every day, hundreds. They're there at the bus terminal. So let's play a clip of Jakari 2 years ago. Here it is.
The people who you're housing here, where are they coming from?
I'm being told they're coming from Central America. A lot of them are Central America. And a lot of them are younger kids with their moms, for the most part.
And why Central America? Why is that the popular destination?
I have no idea.
What happened today in particular is that the Border Patrol dropped off some, they call them detainees, but obviously they're not detained after they drop them off. And normally they have tickets or arranged transportation to go somewhere in the interior. Well, today, apparently for some logistical reasons, some of them hadn't had transportation arranged, or their transportation is tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there.
We're having to find.
Now, 70% are underage, 18 or younger. That's the Fed's own numbers. We're on to Jakari right now. But the new video we have from this ABC, they're almost all look like men and women, hardly any kids this time, or teenagers. So, again, folks, this is a set deal outside the law, and they're keeping the numbers secret. Jakari, I know you just got down there in the last 30 minutes or so, and you're about to follow your reports for the Nightly News. A great job breaking this 2 years ago to you and Adon. But the mainstream media knows they've been covering up. What have you learned so far?
Jakari Jackson reporting from McAllen, Texas. As you hear the report right there, it finally seems that the mainstream media is getting around to cover a story that we talked about 2 years ago about how many of the people who entered the country illegally are being provided with travel vouchers courtesy of the United States government, and they go wherever they go, and most of them don't return for their court dates. And that's the situation that's going on here. Currently, while we're at the McAllen bus station, there isn't too much traffic right here. We do know that the people are being provided with travel vouchers, but just the simple fact that they are given a voucher, it makes them very difficult to identify. So you don't know exactly who came in with a travel voucher, who didn't, and where they're going from here.
Jakari, just as a citizen, what is it like for you? Well, I know you recently went on a trip to do some investigations in Asia. What is it like to, because you're a citizen, to be discriminated against, to be asked all these questions and go through naked body scanners, but then even at the airports they admit with a lot of the illegals, they just groveling to them from China, you name it, just they don't even search them. They just let them in without even having IDs. I mean, that's crazy.
Well, it is rather absurd because when I returned to the States, I believe I was at JFK, and, I'm a U.S. citizen. I have my passport, ID and all that. And the guy's giving me the third degree like I did. So he was like, where'd you come from? Did you bring anything back? And he was like, did you go business or pleasure? And he just was like grilling me. I was like, bro, I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Like, what do you think I was out there doing? I have a Christian cross on my arm. What do you think I'm up to? But that's the situation I had. But as you demonstrated in your example there, many other people who come from other countries don't have to go through the same harassment I do as an American citizen.
Well, I mean, I threw out the three things I want you to cover: the disease, the above the law, the open borders, the UN calling the shots, because we played a clip last week where the UN admits they're running the migration to Europe and here. That's who Obama takes his orders from. I mean, what about the angle of Obama just ignoring the Supreme Court again?
Well, Obama doesn't get his authority from the Supreme Court. According to him, he gets it from the UN. So he doesn't have to abide by any of the laws of the land, regardless of what the people of the United States collectively speak. He just ignores that, and he goes on about his own personal agenda.
Well, all I know is, why do I have to pay taxes and pay and have my genitals groped and everything? But all these foreigners, they admit flights every day to JFK. No one's even checked. IDs aren't even looked at. That's New York Daily News. This is bull. I mean, I'm sitting there with the customs guy narrowing his eyes. He knows full well who I am. He's interrogating me. Every time they pull me out of the line for extra interrogation, sometimes they take me behind closed doors, dig through my dirty underwear, literally, and just bug their eyes out at me. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a power trip. You know, I've experienced those same things going through customs. Also, when you go through the TSA, I mean, I've had multiple times. I went to TSA, and some guy, he opened my Altoids can and was shaking the can around, trying to see if there's stuff in there. It's completely ridiculous. It's a complete double standard. But I guess in the sake of political correctness, they feel they can do that to the American citizen, but not the non-citizen.
Absolutely. You heard the angles I want to get covered. And you know, obviously, there's the big angle. The media finally covers that Obama and the Border Patrol are shipping the illegals in. I mean, what other angles are you going to hit, Jakari?
Well, we're going to go out here and do a man on the street. And since we're so close to the border, one of the things we want to ask people is, how do you feel about the wall? Because we've seen the reports, I believe it was on MSNBC, where they went out and asked a similar question, and they were surprised that many people said they wanted it. So we're going to just ask the people who actually live here, not, you know, some talking head up in New York, what they think of the wall, if they think it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing, what they think about the situation in general.
Sure, and when MSNBC did that, the guy spent 2 months actually at the border towns, the farmers, the ranchers who were mainly Hispanic, where they're getting hit by the crime. I think a lot of folks who are found in the city are probably there illegal, so they might be supporting it. But that's my point. We don't even need a wall. We just need to go after employers that hire people illegally, flagrantly, and we need to just not ship people in and advertise all this free welfare. Game over.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, if I don't think the wall is the best of ideas, but if we enforce the laws that are already on the books, I think we could cut down on the problem a great deal.
Well, I agree with Ron Paul when he said, like 5 years ago, they were talking about a wall and you'll never finish it. He said, look, the wall's going to keep us in. That's true. They harass us, the citizens. I'm not even blaming the Border Patrol people. That's what they're ordered to do, the customs people, but still it's happening. So no, look, the IRS wants a law where you can't even fly, period, if they claim they're investigating you. Now you can't leave the country if they've got an investigation open. So see, they're trying to make it hard for us to get out of the country. So I just say, you know what, I disagree with Trump on the wall. It's a fun thing to talk about and all this, but all I want Trump to do is just not let, you know, the illegals get free welfare. That'll fix it right there.
And as you talk about this travel, I think if they want to take people's passports and deny them travel because they're under investigation, Mr. Clinton's under investigation. Why doesn't somebody say something about that and seize her assets?
Oh, that's a good idea. Absolutely. We're not even talking about a criminal investigation with a grand jury or something, folks, or, you know, where you've been indicted and they say don't leave the county. We're talking about anybody when they just open an investigation. That's probably happened to me 6, 7 times in my life. Everybody else you know has had the IRS send them letters and open investigation. Boom, can't leave the U.S. when they got the investigation open. And I mean, that is incredible. We'll come back with Jakari, Anadon Salazar, then David Knight. I'm going to do 5 minutes for the next hour. Covers from the news haven't hit yet. And then David Knight's taking over. He's going to be getting into Trump versus the GOP, the abortion ruling of the Supreme Court. Obama's going to follow that one, but not the one about, hey, you can't bring in people and advertise everything's free and then have the Border Patrol be a delivery force for the illegals. I mean, it's just not fair. No other country acts like this. It's so crazy. Fine, let the illegals in and give me free stuff too. Just don't grab my genitals. That's what makes me so mad about this. It's so obvious they're bringing in voters and unskilled laborers to break the economy. That's a model the globalists have. Briefly before I go back and get some final comments from Jakari Jackson, we're sold out of the Hillary Clinton for prison shirts. That was edition number 2. Edition 3 is coming out. It's the same, except it has Infowars.com on the shoulder, not just on the back. And then Hillary for Prison 2016. But that has sold out. I think there's like a few left in small because you get 75% off on it when you sign up for the newsletter, 50% off when you just buy one. That's special. is ending in the next few hours, and it really is causing a national meme all over TV. People are wearing it. The top Google search last week was, is Hillary Clinton going to prison? This is just an example of the power of the people. And wearing a Molon Labe or an InfoWars shirt from InfoWarsStore.com, not just Hillary for prison, you will meet like-minded people.